Laura Bennett stood at the observation deck of the Valiant Dawn, her hands clasped behind her back, as she watched the strange alien ships approach. After 15 years of studying potential alien civilizations, the senior xenanthropologist was finally going to meet one. The three disc-shaped vessels gleamed like polished silver against the black of space, their surfaces smooth and perfect. "They're quite beautiful, aren't they?" Commander Peter Walsh said as he walked up beside her. His weathered face showed both excitement and concern. "Beautiful but dangerous," Laura replied, adjusting her uniform sleeve. "Their technology is clearly far beyond what we expected." The Valiant Dawn, Earth's newest and most advanced flagship, had been chosen for this first contact mission. Its crew of 500 represented the best of humanity, carefully selected for their skills and ability to handle high-pressure situations. They would need those skills today. Commander Walsh touched his earpiece, listening to incoming reports. The Zarax ships are holding position at the agreed distance. They're requesting to begin the communication sequence. Laura nodded, her heart beating faster. This was the moment humanity had waited for. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. The Zarax had discovered Earth 3 months ago, and after careful long-range communications, both sides had agreed to meet near Jupiter's orbit. "Opening communication channels now," the ship's AI announced in its calm voice. The main screen lit up, showing their first clear view of the Zarax. The alien had gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer like silk, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its head was hairless and slightly elongated. "Greetings, representatives of Earth." The alien spoke in perfect English, thanks to the translation software they had shared earlier. "I am First Contact Specialist Vextrol of the Zarax Confederation." Laura stepped forward, following the carefully planned protocol. "Greetings, Specialist Vextrol. I am Senior Xenanthropologist Laura Bennett, and with me is Commander Peter Walsh of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system." Everything seemed to be going well, but Laura noticed something odd. One of the alien ships was slowly moving to the side, taking up a position that hadn't been agreed upon. She glanced at Commander Walsh, who gave her a subtle nod. He had noticed too. "We are most interested in learning about your civilization," Vextrol continued. "Our preliminary scans show remarkable progress for such a young species." Walsh's posture stiffened. "Scans? We agreed there would be no scanning without mutual consent." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Merely standard protocol, Commander. We must ensure our safety." Laura felt her stomach tighten. Something was very wrong. The diplomatic language they had carefully crafted was being ignored, and the aliens were clearly hiding something. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple energy signatures detected. The tactical officer shouted, "They're trying to penetrate our defensive systems." The Zarax on screen didn't even pretend to be apologetic. "Please understand, this is for the greater good. We must assess your true capabilities." Commander Walsh's face hardened. "End transmission," he ordered, then turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Activate the Aegis shield." Laura watched in amazement as the experimental shield system hummed to life. They hadn't planned to reveal this technology so soon, but the Zarax had forced their hand. The shield shimmered with a faint blue glow, using quantum field technology that even most of Earth's population didn't know existed. The alien ship's scanning beams hit the shield and scattered, creating beautiful but dangerous patterns of energy across its surface. On their sensors, they could see the Zarax ship's power output increasing, trying harder to penetrate the barrier. "They can't read through the shield," Laura realized. "They've never seen this technology before." Walsh nodded grimly. "And that's exactly what worries me. They're not used to surprises." He opened a channel to all Earth forces in the system. "All ships, defensive positions. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The Zarax ships suddenly backed away, their scanning beams shutting off. Without any further communication, they turned and accelerated rapidly, disappearing into faster-than-light travel with a flash of light. The bridge was quiet for a moment before Walsh spoke. "Well, that could have gone better." Laura shook her head, already thinking about the implications. "Actually, this might have been the best thing that could have happened." When Walsh looked at her questioningly, she explained, "They came here expecting to find primitive humans they could easily dominate. Instead, they found technology they couldn't understand and couldn't penetrate. They'll have to completely recalculate their approach to Earth, and that buys us time." Walsh finished her thought. Time to prepare. Over the next few hours, Laura worked with the ship's AI to analyze every second of their interaction with the Zarax. Something about their behavior bothered her. They had been too quick to abandon diplomacy, too ready to use force. "They're not used to equals," she concluded during the emergency meeting with Earth's Defense Council, attended virtually from the Valiant Dawn. "Their civilization is likely highly hierarchical, with clear dominant structures. They expected to scan us, find us inferior, and establish themselves as the dominant party immediately." Admiral Susan Carter's hologram nodded. "And when they couldn't establish dominance immediately, they retreated to reassess. Classic predator behavior. We should expect them to return," Defense Director Alan Mitchell added. "And next time, they won't be coming for a friendly chat." Commander Walsh stood at the conference table, his expression determined. "Then we'll be ready for them. Earth has more surprises than just our shield technology. If they want to find out our true capabilities, they might not like what they discover." As the meeting continued, Laura looked out at the stars through the observation window. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, imagining it would bring peace, knowledge, and advancement. Instead, they had found that the galaxy was just as competitive and dangerous as Earth had ever been. But if the Zarax thought humans would be easy prey, they were in for a shock. Humanity hadn't survived and thrived on Earth by being weak. They had survived by being adaptable, innovative, and most importantly, by never backing down from a challenge. The real question was, when the Zarax returned, would they be ready for what humanity had in store for them? As Laura watched the space where the alien ships had disappeared, she couldn't help but smile. The Zarax had wanted to assess Earth's power. Soon enough, they would get their wish, and much more than they had bargained for. Chief Strategist Clethor paced nervously in front of the Galactic Council chamber. His four-fingered hands kept adjusting his ceremonial collar, a habit that showed his stress. After 3 days of analyzing the first contact data, he knew his report would not make the Council happy. The massive doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, 12 representatives from the most powerful species in the Zarax Confederation sat in tiered seats that rose up like a stadium. Their combined age was over 2,000 years, and they had grown used to being the ones who judged other species, not the other way around. "Approach, Chief Strategist," the High Speaker commanded, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Present your assessment of the humans." Clethor walked to the center of the room and activated his holographic display. The image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. "Honorable Council," he began, "our first contact mission with Earth has revealed disturbing information. The humans possess technology that should be impossible for their development level." He showed the recording of the Earth ship's shield blocking their scans. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "As you can see, their defensive capabilities exceeded our strongest scanning beams. This technology appears to use principles our scientists don't fully understand." "Impossible," interrupted Council Member Zexra, her scales flickering with disbelief. "They only achieved spaceflight 2 centuries ago. They cannot have advanced this quickly." Clethor brought up more data. "That's exactly the problem. Honored ones. Their rate of advancement is unprecedented. Look at this chart." He displayed a graph showing technological progress over time. Most species follow this gradual curve of advancement. The humans, however. A new line appeared on the graph, shooting upward at a steep angle. Murmurs filled the chamber. "This cannot be accurate," another council member protested. "I assure you, "It is," Clothor replied. "In just the last 50 years, they've gone from primitive chemical rockets to ships that can match our best vessels. Their adaptation rate is off our charts." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Susan Carter sat in the Pentagon's underground war room, looking at very different charts. Holographic displays showed Earth's defensive positions and the latest upgrades to their fleet. The Aegis shield performed better than expected, Director Alan Mitchell said, pointing to the test results. "The aliens couldn't penetrate it at all." "But we can't get overconfident," Carter replied, zooming in on the star map. "They'll come back with something stronger next time." The room was filled with military leaders from around the world, all united in preparing Earth's defenses. The failed first contact had done something remarkable. It had brought humanity together like never before. "Our production facilities are working at full capacity," General Lisa Howard reported, bringing up new data. "We're installing shield generators on all major cities and colonies. The lunar base will be fully protected by next week." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Clothor was reaching the most troubling part of his report. "The humans don't think like us," he explained. "Their history is full of rapid changes and adaptations. While we perfect a technology over centuries, they create 10 different versions in a decade. They value innovation over tradition, change over stability." "You sound afraid of these primitives," sneered Council Member Draxul. Clothor stood straighter. "With respect, Honored One, I am afraid. And you should be too. Our scans detected quantum manipulation technology we've never seen before. Their ships use AI integration that our experts say shouldn't be possible without causing system crashes. They're doing things that violate our understanding of scientific principles." He brought up the final image, a simulation showing potential human expansion over the next decade. "If we don't act soon, they will surpass us. But if we act wrongly, we risk pushing them to advance even faster." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded immediate military action to put the humans in their place. Others called for more observation. The High Speaker had to bang his staff 3 times to restore order. On Earth, a different kind of meeting was taking place. Laura Bennett stood before a group of scientists and military leaders, sharing her analysis of the Zarax behavior. "They're scared," she explained, "but they're trying to hide it. Their entire civilization is built on predictability and control. We represent chaos to them. Unpredictable, fast-moving chaos." Commander Walsh nodded from his seat. "Then we use that fear. Make them so worried about what we might do that they think twice about attacking." "It's already working," Carter added. "Our deep space sensors show they've positioned scout ships at the edge of our solar system. They're watching us, trying to figure us out." Director Mitchell brought up a new hologram showing Earth's latest weapon development. "Then let's give them something to think about. The new quantum torpedo designs are ready for testing. If they're watching, they'll see exactly what we can do." Back in Zarax space, the Council finally reached a decision. Clothor listened with growing concern as the High Speaker announced their plan. "We will launch a small corrective action," the High Speaker declared. "A limited strike on their outer colonies. This will demonstrate our power and force them to accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy." Clothor tried one last time to make them understand. "Honored Ones, the humans don't think in terms of hierarchy. They won't submit just because we're older or more established. If we attack them, they will fight back with everything they have. They are children playing with technology they don't understand." Zexra dismissed him. "A simple show of force will be enough." As Clothor left the chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Council was making a terrible mistake. They were applying old solutions to a new kind of problem. The humans weren't like any species they had encountered before. In Earth's war room, Admiral Carter was looking at the latest intelligence reports. Their long-range sensors had picked up unusual activity in Zarax space. They were preparing for something. "They're coming," she announced to the room. "Probably sooner than we expected." Commander Walsh's voice came through the comm system from the Valiant Dawn. "Then we'll be ready." The new weapons are installed, the shields are upgraded, and every ship crew has run combat drills until they can do them in their sleep. Laura Bennett, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, spoke up. They'll underestimate us. Their entire culture is based on age and established power. They won't expect. She paused, smiling slightly. They won't expect humanity to be humanity. As if to emphasize her point, a test firing of the new quantum torpedoes lit up the lunar sky. The weapons performed perfectly, showing power levels that would have been impossible just months ago. Earth was ready. The only question was, were the Zarax ready for what they were about to start? The Mars colony shimmered under its protective shield dome, the red desert stretching endlessly beyond. Lieutenant Catherine Morris stood in the colony's control center, watching the long-range scanner displays. Something didn't feel right about the sensor readings. "There it is again," she said, pointing to a slight distortion in the data. Every 12 minutes, like clockwork. Her second-in-command, Jack Porter, leaned in to look. "Could be sensor ghosts. Solar flares have been heavy this week." Catherine shook her head. "No, this is different." She had spent 5 years commanding stealth ships, and she knew what invisible enemies looked like. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them the Zarax are coming, and they're trying to hide." The warning came just in time. 3 hours later, 30 Zarax warships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They had expected to catch Earth's colonies by surprise. Instead, they found them ready and waiting. Admiral Carter's voice came through all Earth channels, all units, battle stations. "This is not a drill. Activate Defense Plan Delta." The Zarax ships approached Mars with confidence, their weapons charged. Their sensors showed only basic shield technology protecting the colony, the same kind humans had been using publicly for years. What they couldn't see was everything hiding behind those old shields. The alien commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Attention, human colony. This is a corrective action. Lower your shields and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in destruction." Catherine smiled as she gave the order. "Activate quantum shields, stealth fleet, decloak, and execute pattern Sierra." Suddenly, 10 Earth ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the surprise Zarax fleet. The old shield around Mars flickered and was replaced by the advanced Aegis shield system, its blue energy field much stronger than anything the aliens had seen before. "I don't think we'll be surrendering today," Catherine transmitted back. "But you're welcome to surrender to us." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for years to come. The Zarax ships fired their main weapons, expecting to easily overwhelm the human defenses. Instead, their energy beams scattered harmlessly against the quantum shields. "Launch attack pattern Beta," Catherine commanded. Her stealth ships moved with perfect coordination, their crews having practiced these maneuvers hundreds of times. They had been preparing for this moment ever since the failed first contact. The new quantum torpedoes streaked across space, their warheads powered by technology the Zarax hadn't even thought possible. 3 alien ships lost power before they could even react. 7 more found their weapon systems completely disabled. In the Zarax command ship, panic was setting in. "Impossible," the alien commander shouted. "Their weapons cannot be this advanced. They were primitives just decades ago." A junior officer reported with trembling hands. "Sir, we're detecting AI signatures in their targeting systems. They're predicting our moves before we make them." Back on her bridge, Catherine watched the battle unfold exactly as their simulations had predicted. The Zarax ships were powerful, but they were fighting with tactics hundreds of years old. They hadn't faced a real challenge in so long that they'd forgotten how to adapt. "Target their engine cores," she ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. Earth Command wants prisoners to study their technology." The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. When it was over, 15 Zarax ships were dead in space, their crews evacuated to emergency life pods. The rest had retreated in disarray, jumping away to faster than light speed with damage to their hulls. "Recovery teams, move in," Catherine commanded. Let's see what gifts our visitors left us. In the aftermath, Laura Bennett arrived from Earth to study the captured alien technology. She walked through a disabled Zarax ship with Catherine, both women wearing spacesuits as they examined the alien bridge. "Look at this," Laura said, pointing to their computer systems. "It's all standardized, unchanged for centuries. They stopped innovating long ago." Catherine nodded. They got comfortable, forgot that the universe doesn't let you stay on top unless you keep pushing forward. The real surprise came when they reached the engine room. Earth's engineers had already started taking readings, and their excitement was obvious even through their suit radios. "They're faster than light drive," one engineer explained. "It's incredibly inefficient. They're brute forcing their way through space-time instead of working with it. We can already think of 3 ways to improve it." Back on Earth, Admiral Carter received the full battle report in the war room. The room was quiet as she finished reading, until Director Mitchell broke the silence. "We didn't just win," he said. "We showed them something they've never seen before. No species has ever survived their corrective actions, let alone turned them into a complete rout." Commander Walsh's hologram nodded. "The question is, what will they do next? This kind of defeat has to have shaken their whole worldview." Laura's analysis arrived shortly after. "They're scared now, really scared. Their whole society is built on the idea that older civilizations are automatically superior. We just proved that wrong in the most dramatic way possible." In deep space, the retreating Zarax ships limped home. Their commander stared out at the stars, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. They had expected to find primitive humans with copy technology they barely understood. Instead, they had found innovation they couldn't even comprehend. Chief Strategist Clothor received the battle reports with a grim satisfaction. He had warned the Council, but they hadn't listened. Now they would have to face an uncomfortable truth. The humans weren't just another species to be dominated. They were something entirely new. As Catherine oversaw the recovery operations around Mars, she received a message from Earth Command. More Zarax ships had been detected moving through their territory. Next time, they wouldn't underestimate humanity. "Let them come," she said to her crew. "We'll show them what else we've been working on." The first strike had failed, but the real war was just beginning. Humanity had revealed some of its capabilities, but far from all of them. As Earth's ships prepared for the next battle, one thing was becoming clear to both sides. The galaxy would never be the same after this. Chief Engineer Daniel Wright hadn't slept in 2 days, but he couldn't stop smiling. In front of him, holographic displays showed the inner workings of the Zarax faster than light drive they had captured. What he saw there could change everything. "Look at this," he said to Dr. Nicole Patterson, who was studying the alien technology with him aboard the experimental warship Starcutter. "They're forcing their way through space like a hammer hitting a nail. No finesse at all." Nicole nodded, her eyes bright with understanding. They never questioned their basic assumptions about how space-time works. They just kept building bigger hammers. The Starcutter floated in high orbit above Earth, its experimental labs filled with captured alien technology. For the past week, the best minds from Earth had been taking apart everything they'd learned from the failed Zarax attack. "Send this to Admiral Carter right away," Daniel said, packaging his findings. "I think we just found their biggest weakness." Meanwhile, in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Nicole Patterson was making another breakthrough. She sat across from a captured Zarax scientist, separated by a force field. After days of conversations, the alien was finally opening up. "Your species puzzles us," the alien said, its 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "You change too fast. It's not natural." Nicole leaned forward. "What's not natural is staying the same when the universe is full of new things to learn. Why did your people stop innovating?" The alien's skin rippled, showing discomfort. "We perfected our technology centuries ago. The Council decided that stability was more important than chaos. All changes must be approved by committees, studied for decades. While we make changes every day, Nicole finished. That's why you can't keep up with us. On the bridge of the Starcutter, Daniel received an urgent message. Their long-range sensors had detected a massive Zarax fleet gathering. This time, the aliens weren't taking any chances. They're bringing everything they have. Admiral Carter's hologram reported during the emergency meeting. Over 200 ships. They think overwhelming force will solve their problem. Commander Walsh spoke up from the Valiant Dawn. They still don't understand. Bigger hammers won't help if your basic approach is wrong. Daniel stepped forward, showing his analysis. The flaw in their FTL drive isn't just a design problem. It shows how their whole civilization thinks. They believe the only way forward is to push harder with what they already know. While we try new things, Director Mitchell added, our quantum shields work because we saw space-time differently. Our AI works because we weren't afraid to let it evolve. Nicole's face appeared on another screen, joining from her research facility. The Zarax scientists just confirmed something interesting. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that everything worth discovering has already been discovered. They think the universe has rules that can't be bent. Daniel laughed. They should talk to our quantum physics team. We bend rules before breakfast. Admiral Carter stood up, her decision made. Then let's show them exactly how many rules we can bend. Daniel, is the new drive ready? He nodded. Installed and tested. The Starcutter can now slip through space like water through a sieve. No hammers needed. Over the next few days, Earth's forces prepared for the coming battle. But this time, they had a plan that went beyond just defending themselves. In the Zarax fleet, Supreme Commander Vexnor watched his tactical display with confidence. This time, they had brought enough firepower to overwhelm any defense. The humans had surprised them once, but no primitive species could stand against the combined might of centuries of Zarax technology. All ships report ready, his second-in-command announced. The humans cannot have anything that can stop this fleet. The human defense fleet seemed tiny in comparison. Only 50 ships stood against the Zarax armada. Supreme Commander Vexnor felt a surge of satisfaction. Finally, they would put these upstarts in their place. Then Daniel Wright, aboard the Starcutter, activated the new drive system. Space itself seemed to ripple. The Starcutter didn't just move fast. It flowed through space in ways the Zarax sensors couldn't even track. One moment it was in front of their fleet, the next it was behind them, then above, then below. Impossible. Vexnor shouted as his tactical display tried and failed to track the human ship. Nothing can move like that. Nicole, watching from Earth through the Starcutter's cameras, smiled as she saw the aliens' confusion. They're seeing something that doesn't fit their rules. Watch what happens next. Daniel's voice came over the command channel. Drive functioning perfectly. Beginning Phase 2. The Starcutter released a series of small devices, each one flowing through space the same way the ship did. They attached themselves to the Zarax ship's drive systems before the aliens even knew what was happening. Their entire FTL system is based on forcing space to work their way, Daniel explained to the command staff. Once you know that, you can disrupt it with just a tiny push in the right place. All across the Zarax fleet, faster-than-light drives began to fail. Not with explosions or destruction, but with a gentle shutdown that left their ships intact but unable to run away. Supreme Commander Vexnor watched in horror as ship after ship lost its ability to enter faster-than-light travel. The humans hadn't just defeated them. They had done it without firing a single shot. Admiral Carter's voice echoed across all channels. Zarax fleet, your faster-than-light capabilities have been temporarily disabled. You can either power down your weapons and accept our terms, or we can demonstrate what else we've learned from studying your technology. In the silence that followed, Nicole turned to her Zarax scientist guest. This is why we keep looking for new answers. The universe is full of surprises, but only if you're willing to see them. The alien's 4 eyes were wide with wonder. Your people did in days what our scientists said was impossible for centuries. Perhaps the Council was wrong about many things. As the Zarax fleet surrendered, Daniel began downloading the data from his new drive system. Already, he could see ways to improve it. That was the real difference between humans and the Zarax, he realized. It wasn't just about having better technology. It was about never stopping, never assuming you knew everything, and never being afraid to prove the impossible was possible after all. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so chaotic. Council members shouted over each other as reports of the human victory spread through their networks. The great Zarax fleet, pride of their civilization, had been defeated without a single ship being destroyed. Silence. The High Speaker's voice boomed through the chamber, but even he couldn't hide the tremor in his voice. We must maintain order. Chief Strategist Clothor stood quietly in the center of the chamber, watching the panic spread. He had warned them, but they hadn't listened. Now they had no choice but to listen. The humans request a meeting, he announced. Not here, but on their space station near their moon. They wish to demonstrate something to the full council. A trap, someone shouted. No, Clothor replied calmly. They could have destroyed our fleet, but they chose not to. They want to talk. And this time, we should listen. On the International Space Station Alpha, Ambassador Mary Collins supervised the final preparations for the meeting. The station's new quantum shields hummed quietly, protecting the expanded diplomatic section where the council would gather. Everything ready? Admiral Carter asked, her hologram floating beside Mary. As ready as we'll ever be, Mary replied. Daniel and Nichols' presentations are prepared. This will change everything. The Zarax Council arrived in their ceremonial ship, its silver hull dulled by the recent battles. As they entered the station, their 4 eyes darted around nervously, taking in the mix of human and alien technology. Mary stepped forward to greet them. Welcome to humanity's first international space station. It's not as grand as your council chamber, but it has something special. It's always changing. We add new sections, try new ideas, and improve it every day. The High Speaker tried to maintain his dignity. You requested this meeting. Ambassador Collins, what do you wish to show us? The future, Mary said simply, and led them to the main conference room. Daniel Wright and Nicole Patterson waited inside with their teams. The walls showed holographic displays of their recent discoveries about space, time, and the nature of reality itself. You're faster than light drives work, Daniel began, but they're like using a sledgehammer to paint a picture. We found a better way. He showed them the new human drive system, explaining in simple terms how it worked with space instead of against it. Nicole stepped forward next, but the drives are just a symbol of a bigger difference between us. Your scientist taught me something important. She nodded to the Zarax scientist who had helped her, now standing proudly among the humans. Your civilization chose stability over growth. You tried to perfect what you knew instead of looking for new answers. The council members shifted uncomfortably, but they couldn't deny the evidence in front of them. Humans had taken their most advanced technology and improved it in ways they had thought impossible. Commander Walsh, who had joined them from the Valiant Dawn, spoke next. We're not your enemies. We don't want to fight you. But we won't stop exploring, learning, and growing. That's what humans do. And what do you want from us? The High Speaker asked, his voice quieter than before. Mary smiled. We want to trade ideas, not weapons. We want to explore the galaxy together, not fight over it. But first, you need to understand something about humans. She pressed a button, and the room's displays changed to show Earth's history. We've faced extinction many times. Ice ages, plagues, wars, climate disasters. Each time, we survived by adapting, by finding new solutions. We don't know how to stop learning. We don't want to. Admiral Carter's hologram joined them. Your fleet is still disabled, but we can restore their drives. We can even show you how to improve them. All we ask is that you accept us as equals, not as subjects to be corrected." The council members looked at each other, centuries of tradition warring with the undeniable reality before them. Finally, the High Speaker stood. "In all our history," he said slowly, "no species has ever done what you have done. You should have been primitive, easy to dominate. Instead, you showed us that our own assumptions were primitive." Clothor stepped forward. "The humans have power we never imagined, yet they offer peace. Perhaps it is time for the Zarax Confederation to learn something new." The agreement they reached that day would change the galaxy forever. Earth would share its innovations, while the Zarax would share their vast knowledge of the galaxy. Together, they would explore and grow. Laura Bennett, watching from the back of the room, couldn't help but smile. First contact had gone terribly wrong, but it had led to something better than anyone had expected. Humans had proved themselves not just to the Zarax, but to the entire galaxy. On the Starcutter, Daniel was already working with Zarax engineers, showing them how to think differently about technology. Nicole and her alien scientist friend were planning joint research projects that would combine human creativity with Zarax knowledge. As the council prepared to leave, Mary handed the High Speaker a small gift, a simple human child's toy, a kaleidoscope. "What is this?" he asked, peering through it with his 4 eyes. "A reminder," she said. "Every time you turn it, you see something new." That's how humans see the universe, full of endless possibilities waiting to be discovered. The High Speaker carefully tucked the kaleidoscope into his robes. Perhaps, he thought, it was time for the Zarax to learn how to see things differently too. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter stood in the war room one last time, looking at the tactical displays. The Zarax fleet was moving away, their drives restored and improved. But now, they moved as friends, not enemies. "Well," Commander Walsh said from the Valiant Dawn, "I guess we're not going to be bored anytime soon. The galaxy just got a lot more interesting." Carter smiled. "It always was interesting. Some people just needed a reminder about how much there is left to discover." As Earth celebrated its new alliance, Laura looked up at the stars from her office window. Humanity had faced its first major galactic test, and they had passed it by being uniquely human, adaptable, innovative, and unwilling to accept limitations. The assessment was complete, and humanity's power wasn't just off the charts. It was writing new charts entirely.